Beautiful. What's up, guys? So today I have Nate from the Hoop Temple podcast on today to discuss the Raptors. As you see, the beautiful purple jersey in the background. Though that jersey, immaculate. So go ahead, Nate. Just introduce yourself real quick to the viewers.
Hey, I'm Nate. I am a combo Raptors Lakers fan. I do have to always kind of get that off my chest right away, just because, the Raptors fans are a beautiful, wonderful group, and I don't want them to think that I am treading on their ground. But it goes back to NBA or NBA Courtside 2 on the N64. They had Vince and T-Mac, and I was an 8-year-old, and that's like some of the most fun characters to play with. So
Mm,
I have been following them for over 20 years. I think even though they're not my favorite team, they are a team that I watch, I don't know, 40 something games of a year and follow very closely and love deeply. So I just want to put that out there for the Raptors fans. You guys are my number two, and I love you guys.
hey, that's fine, man. Again, the whole idea is 40 games of the Raptors is more than I've watched. So hey, the whole point is to get people who know way more than me about this team on and just have some good convos. Um, so let's start with this. So obviously, this team is not expected to win a lot. So I'm not even going to waste the time with you of like what's the over under on your guys' win. What is the expectations though for you with this squad? Like, what to you would make a good, successful season for this team?
A good successful season for this year is just seeing improvement from Scottie Barnes. I know we have other young pieces. RJ Barrett is still very young. He is 24. If he can figure out a way to fit in with the nucleus quickly, if Quickly can show that he is going to be a starter caliber point guard for the future, those would both be really big. But I really just want to see superstar qualities from Scottie Barnes. That's going to mean the most.
Mm. Is that a concern for you that Scottie Barnes might not have those qualities per se?
I I I think it's got to be concerned for everyone with
Mm,
like any of their players. Maybe it's just the fact that I am a bit of a pessimist, just at heart and at nature. But like, hey, if Scottie Barnes becomes Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors are great. They're going to win a title again. They're going to compete for stuff. But the chances of anyone becoming that high of a level,
right.
odds are always against you. And with Scottie, I do think there are some concerns: the lack of development in the offensive game, kind of as an individual ISO scorer. And then just defensively, man is very good at guarding threes and fours. He does struggle at ones and twos, and him being like a multi-positional defender is going to be big for the Raptors.
Right. No, that's fair. And the only reason I ask that is because I'm sure you've seen it too. People get very defensive on Scotty for whatever reason. Like if you say
Sure.
anything about how, and I understand it, but I ask all these, these creators about their teams when they're, in the rebuild process, because sometimes whether it's right or wrong or whatever, not everyone necessarily actually has a number one guy on their team
Hmm.
that they have to rebuild around. Um, so I always like to sort of start off with that question to, get your thoughts. And that was the other thing I was going to ask you. So you talked about Quickly and RJ. Now,
Yeah.
RJ, I for sure saw, even just watching box score or whatever, like he genuinely seemed like he's, for whatever reason, man, the play stepped up in Toronto. Now, hopefully. Now I saw a little bit in the Olympics too. He was starting to, turn it up. So hopefully that translates into, another full season versus just like this was a cute like 15 games and then. But are you high on either one of them, Quickly or Barrett, being a legitimate piece with this team for the future? Or are you sort of like, hey man, like it's cool, we might move them if the right deal comes? Like,
I'm not tied to either of them for
mm,
like for a long term. I do think that there's a big difference between being the guy with the ball in your hands all the time and
mm,
being the guy that's buried behind Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson as far as just terms of touches. So I think both these guys have room to show that they're going to grow, but point guard is one of the deepest positions in the league. I mean,
yeah,
there are more people who are between 6'3" and 6 foot than there are 6'6" or 7 foot. So Quickly, while I think he's really good, um, I think he might be the second best Raptor, him or Barrett. We'll see. It's just such a deep position that I don't know that he is the future for us.
mm. And, that's the other, and so the deals that you did to acquire these guys, right? And even the deal you did with Pascal. What did you think those were the best available trades? Do you guys think you waited too long to deal them out? Like what's your thoughts with those deals?
Absolutely. I think we waited too long, and I think we prioritized the wrong things. Going for the young players that we kind of know what they are already versus going for the picks and the treasure trove of assets. I just think it's the wrong play. If we had gone for picks, then one, we could really bottom out this next year. Go all in, go for Cooper Flag, go for one of the guys that you're going to be able to build around.
Right.
But instead, I think there was a little bit of wanting to keep last year's pick, which I think was always fool's gold. It was top seven protected. Spurs ended up getting it as part of the Jakob Poeltl trade. Um, I wouldn't have made that move.
No, I feel you because I'm gonna be honest with you. There's one move that infuriated me. I think it was the trade deadline, or it might have been in the offseason. I don't remember which it was. But when you guys traded a pick for Kelly Olynyk, I'm not gonna lie. I looked at my phone and I thought it was NBA Centel. Like I thought it was a troll account. I was like, there's no way that I gotta know. What was your thoughts when you saw that? Because you gave a similar face to me.
So it's repeating the same mistakes again. Um, because when we gave up a pick for Pirtle, I always call him Pirtle. I know it's Podal. I'm sorry, listeners. It's one of those Bill Simmons name things. I can pronounce Sarush Jasikevicius. I can't get Pirtle right for some reason. But we gave up a pick for him, and it's like, oh yeah, let's get a starting caliber center. I think it was a lot to give up for Kelly Olynyk, but I do like what Olynyk brings as far as spacing. I think you're going to need that in a five with this team. I worry that's a little bit too late for him. Like I would have liked him 2 or so years ago because dude's older than I am. That's not a good sign for NBA players.
I was gonna say I know he was older too, and was it this year's first rounder you guys gave up for him, or was
It
it?
was it was this year's, but it was also like the worst of four different
I
teams,
thought,
and I
yeah,
think it ended up being like 29 or 30. And we also got Ochai Abaji. You know,
yeah, yeah. Again, that was a trade. I mean, at the time, all I remember seeing was a first rounder for Kel. I was like, bro, you guys are. I thought we were rebuilding, guys. Why are we trading
hmm
assets like we're the ones going to win the chip? Like, what are we
hmm
doing? Um, the OG deal, I know for sure. You guys, unfortunately, just held on too long. And then somehow, I mean, Brooklyn managed to avoid being in the fate that you guys were because I thought Mikal was going to be stuck there until, I mean, you're going to be in some gross situation. But, uh, and I'm curious too, what do you think of your head coach? Because obviously you have the hilarious clips of him in press conferences and all that. But is he a coach that you think is going to be really good for this culture in a rebuild? Or is he like, if someone else comes along, maybe we can scoot him out the door?
I'm gonna tell you my general philosophy on NBA coaching is do the guys believe in him? Are the guys willing to like
Mm,
buy in? Because like you'll see Monty Williams. Monty Williams took the Phoenix Suns to the finals and
right.
then gets run out of Detroit. I don't think Monty was a better coach in Phoenix and then somehow got worse. And so when you see Darko, I think it was after their first win into the season, he's dancing around the locker room. The players are pouring champagne. Everyone's hyped. It was like a great
Mm,
internet moment. Hey, if the young guys are buying in and are listening to him, he's the right guy for the job. If they're tuning him out, then we got to bring in someone new. And so I think it's going to be kind of a race against time for him. How quickly can he get them to a point where these young guys want to be? If they're going to be a little bit more patient and say, hey, we need to develop our game, we're going to work with them. Great. But as soon as he starts to lose the locker room, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how good of an X's and O's coach he is.
right.
He's lost the locker room.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think I was going to ask you too. So you guys got Jacoby Walters right? Yeah, Jacoby. You got Jacoby in this year's draft, and then you had Grady Dick last year. Um, and I didn't even know you guys. That was you guys didn't even have a first round pick the year before that. Scottie was the last first round pick you had.
hmm
And I guess my thing is like, what do you think? Do you think these young guys? Well, not so much Jacoby because we don't know. Like he could come out and be the best player on the team by far and just like blow, shock the world. But uh, with Grady Dick, and like, do you think the Raptors are like building, I guess, like since Scottie has to be by default their number one. Like they paid him
Hmm.
now, right? He got paid the extension, I think, the
Hmm.
rookie. At that point, whether it's right, wrong, whatever, he's the guy. Do you think they're building around him correctly with the young picks they're acquiring?
So if we look at our roster and kind of who we've already figured out is going to have set roles, Quickly's going to be there, Barrett's going to be there at least this year.
Mm,
Um, there's kind of two ways to go about this. Quickly's a one, Barrett's a three. Barnes is kind of versatile. You could play him at the two or at the three and shift Barrett down, in which case then Grady's not getting as many minutes. I personally like to play him up. I'd like to see him put on a little bit more muscle and be more of a four, him kind of sliding into the same role that OG is doing in the Knicks, or what he did
mm.
once Randall went down. If that's the case, if he's going to be more of a four and less of a two, then having a knockdown shooter in Grady Dick, who showed more passing flashes, more ball movement flashes in summer league this year, I think that's a safe, smart pick. We'll see if it pans out. Jacoby Walters, in my mind, is this year's candidate to be the next Dion Waiters. Just one of
Ooh.
those, yeah, one of those irrational heat check guys who will have moments that make you very excited, and then will have moments that elicit your woo
Oh,
response.
okay. Okay. I see. Oh, great. So we're not Jacoby, Dion. Okay. I'm gonna have to take note of that one. Yeah, now
I
I
mean,
gotta keep an eye out.
he's in my mind. Just I'm doing some scouting for the draft. I'm watching it, and I'm watching a few of his games. And there's one position that just stuck out to me was he caught the ball real quick, jacked up a contested three. His team gets the rebound, swings it to him, and immediately from the same spot pulls another contested three,
Mm.
misses both of them. And I was just like, that is the irrational confidence and the stupid play that will put you on the Dion Waiters to J.R. Smith divide. But also, like, you need that guy sometimes. Sometimes you have to have a
You do,
wild
yeah.
card. So I'm not out. I'm just
There's
I'm
skepticism.
expecting to take some
Yeah.
lumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, again, he was what, the 19th overall pick, anyways. Once you get to a certain point in the draft, anyways, I feel like if you're expecting a guy, even relatively in the first round that low, to do something crazy, I think that's very unfair to any player. Um, so I'm curious too. Then, so do you think the Raptors? Obviously, you guys waited too long, but I guess is there a concern that honestly, and it's coming from me, I'm a Bulls fan. Are you afraid that there's a chance you become like the Bulls, where like you guys are like you're not bad enough to like get the Cooper flag, but you're also not good
Mm-hmm.
enough to be like a Mavericks team. Even obviously, I'm saying the Mavs are, but you get my point. To go on like some
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
sneaky run that, oh man, we did it, we're here, like let's take this.
Being stuck in the treadmill of mediocrity. That's
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's a big fear where your number one guy is not good enough to start attracting other free agents. And let's be honest, Toronto has never been a marquee market. Maybe, and I say this, what is this, 2 days after Team Canada was bounced, but maybe with the rise of Canadian basketball, maybe that's how we can start building a better team. If I'm the Raptors, I'm investing heavily in Canada's youth because, I mean, let's face it, a kid from Kansas is probably not thinking, I want to go to the Raptors. A kid
right.
from Canada, though, you might have some ins there. You
You
just
might
got
have
to
a little
have more of
pull.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, that I guess that's my big concern with you guys too. Cause like even when I was like going through the list of the teams when I was trying to do the power rankings, I was like, okay, like I don't think you guys were bad enough to be with like, a team like the Pistons where they're literally trying to figure out like what the hell they're doing and who's with what. And but at the same time, I wasn't like you guys are like the Pacers, where it's like, okay, the young team is jibing, we're moving, we're going
Mm-hmm.
straight to the moon. And I just feel bad almost because I'm like, they did the smartest thing that no one knew about in 2019 because you got Kawhi for DeRozan, and everyone even then was like, oh, it's Toronto, there's no way. And they pulled it off, right? It was like, okay. Then you guys developed Pascal, so I was like, oh, hold up, there's something going on here. And now it feels like everything's just falling apart because it's almost like 2019 is such a great thing that it's sort of like the league watched the Raptors just watched the league pass by them, and they did nothing to keep up, really, in my opinion.
Well, the second thing that really hurt is the 2020 or 2021 year when they're playing out of Tampa.
Yeah.
Like every player is away from their family, away from their team. It became a really toxic and bad situation that these players didn't want to be in. Because it's one thing to move to Canada and that be your life and you build a life there. It's another thing to have your life up there and then be like rerouted down to Florida. So I think that escalated the timeline for the Raptors' demise and really blew us up much quicker. Um,
Mm.
but but yeah, the Raptors are kind of going to fail their way into the middle this year. I mean, if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, Brooklyn has already traded away their assets. They're going for Cooper Flag.
Correct. Yeah.
Washington also going for Cooper Flag. Detroit, I don't expect them to like. They're better. They're going to be better, but they're still probably
Right.
going to be bottom of the lottery. Chicago, I think your team has a few more moves to make. I think they want to be in the Cooper Flag discussion. I think Vucevic is going to be out of there. He actually might be a really nice fit in Toronto, just a big who could space a little bit. If those teams are all worse than the Raptors, they're the 11th seed. It doesn't take much, an injury to one of the higher teams. They could make the play-in despite not having a roster that should be anywhere near that play-in range.
Yeah, that's I guess my big concern too. And like, I guess what would then be considered for you guys a disappointing season? Because obviously, again, it's not about wins and losses. Is it
Mhm.
just purely like we see nothing new from Scottie? Like he
Yeah,
stays that all-star caliber wing, but not the guy, like a guy um, for the Raptors.
yeah. I think that would be the worst case scenario is Scottie not even regresses, but each year you're in the league, teams get another chance to figure you out. If you are not improving, you are regressing. And if Scottie doesn't get laterally quicker to be able to defend smaller guards or physically bigger to be able to defend more fours and maybe even some fives, like Scottie should be the guy that they put on Paolo Banchero when we see him. He should be the guy that is picking up Julius Randle within this roster construction. If he's picking up Giannis right now, that's not going to go well. He's not strong enough to defend Giannis. And on the flip side, if he's trying to chase around a small guard, he's getting blown past and really
Mm.
struggles to navigate screens. So, I need to see improvement in some of those areas and a little bit of ISO creation for him. Um,
I was gonna say, dude, because you talk about a lot about the defensive side. That actually kind of surprised me because I feel like even when I go online, the big thing about Scotty is the defense is for a lot of people it's great, but the offense is where I feel like a lot of people because I think Scotty's a good passer. I think
mhm.
if Scotty can just become not even necessarily a point forward because I don't know if he's necessarily good enough or meant to be a player that he's the primary ball handler on a championship team. Um, but I think if he can improve as a creator, now I don't know how that's going to work, right? Because you talked about it. Now RJ is definitely going to be like, I can get more shots. Quickley already has got that mindset, anyways, because he was the sixth man for the Knicks. So the whole point was, I'm going in there. I got to get some momentum. Uh,
Mhm.
so now I'm like, that's where my concern more so is with Scotty, which is very interesting because it's very different than you. Because I feel like also when you're on a team that's this bad, that's not meant to be good, at some point too, whether it's right or it's wrong, you're going to see an effort decline. Now, I'm not saying that these players are lazy or,
Mhm.
bad, but it's just like when you're, I don't know, when you're in the middle of March or the beginning of March and you're like 30 and 50 or, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? You're just at
Yeah.
a record point where you're like, we're done. You're like,
Yeah.
man, I don't want to guard Julius Randle like that tonight, man. I don't want to
You're
guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're 20 and 40 and it's like, well, we haven't quite been eliminated yet, but it's only a matter of time. The effort definitely goes down. I guess I'm not as worried about his offense, in part because I don't think the team has a great construction. Like the best the best case scenario is Olynyk, Grady Dick, and Quickly are spacing, and you've got three shooters, and now he's got a little bit more room to operate.
Mm.
I don't think that that's going to be the lineup that we're going to see a lot of the time. So I think we're going to probably have 2 to 3 non-shooters, counting Barnes. And he's not a non-shooter; he's just not knockdown 3-point shooter. So if you got 2 other non-shooters, not counting him, the floor gets a bit crunched. And so I guess that's why I kept saying ISO. I'm picturing more of like the Carmelo or Kobe or someone who
Mhm.
gets in the middle of the lane, can pump fake, can hit that shot. I think as the roster improves around him and you get more spacing, that's when I would expect to see more of an offensive jump from Barnes.
No, that's fair. And I guess I'm curious too. So this is more so about the fan side of things. Obviously, someone with his own podcast, on social media, all that. Is there a take or a stance that Raptors fan Twitter or whatever that you've sat there and you
Hmm.
go, guys, let's pump the brakes, or guys, where is this coming from? Why are we doing this? Let's calm
I
down.
mean, there's definitely a lot of RJ Barrett love. Um,
Mm,
and I probably was very low on Barrett. I have some very good friends in my life that are Knicks fans, whom will call me, they'd complain a lot about Barrett before he got to the Raptors. And then when he got here, it was like a whole burden had lifted. He started playing some of the best ball of his career. I think there is a little bit of an anticipation that Barrett, it's going to be 1A, 1B with him and Barnes, and they could be this wing duo of the future. They could be the Tatum and Jalen Brown of the North. And I like Barrett, but I think we need to pump the brakes. I think there's still a lot of holes and flaws in his game.
yeah, I did not know. Wow. Okay. See, I love that sort of segment when I ask everyone that, because it's always interesting to see where like the pulse of the community's at for a different team. And I did not realize that RJ Barrett and Scottie Barnes were getting the Brown and Tatum comp for
Well,
the future of the North.
a little bit of it's, hey, he's come home. He's the Team
That's true.
Canada guy. You saw it when he was playing well in the Olympics. He's starting to get called Maple Jordan, which I'm just gonna say, Maple Jordan is Andrew Wiggins. That's you can't have 2 Maple Jordans, and it's
The
not
first one didn't even
great.
pan out that well. I'm not gonna lie,
It
but
it's not great, but yeah, you can't just recycle the nickname because the first
yeah,
guy doesn't pan out.
no, yeah, I get you for sure. And then Nate, why don't you go ahead? If you have any closing remarks you want to give to the viewers, it could be about anything. It could be about your podcast, whatever it is. Go ahead and just give a nice little, I guess, closing spiel.
Um, so last year I went on Jokic Joe Stars for his podcast, and he asked me who was like the secret Raptor that people don't know or aren't paying attention to that I thought was going to have a big impact. And I said a guy who ended up not playing the entire year, Christian Coloco.
Mm.
Christian Coloco had an eye thing that required surgery and ended up just keeping him medically unavailable all year. Uh, as a Raptors fan, just wanted to bring him back up. I believe he's back playing ball again. I don't think he's with the Raptors, but he was a big part of 2 years ago's hope and future. And so, uh, hey, if you're listening to this, Raptors fans, or listening to this anywhere else, just wanted to shout out Christian Coloco. Hope he can play ball again this next season.
And then again, guys, as always, the link to Nate's TikTok and then, his podcast and everything will be down in the description. Again, Nate, I wanted to thank you so much for giving me your time. It means a lot. Again, this project is really meant to show the power of the NBA community and just to give everyone a different platform, something different. And hopefully it helps grow everybody. So again, Nate, I really wanted to thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.